Hello and welcome. I'm going to start by sharing a little bit of yoga philosophy with you before we start our physical practice. I just thought it was a good time to kind of talk about the idea of attachments. So we're going to focus on our hamstring attachments today, but whenever I do a hamstring practice, I also like to remind myself of some of the yoga philosophy about the idea of attachment. So we've all been kind of forced into this self-isolation right now. Um, and so perhaps we've had to let go of some things that we were really attached to, things that we are identifying with in our daily lives. For example, our jobs, right? Many of us are without our vocations right now, so that might be something that we're very attached to. Maybe our shopping trips or going out to our favorite restaurants. So these are all things um, that are not a bad thing, but when we allow our lives to be ruled by these attachments, that's when we perhaps create suffering in our lives. So I'll just share a little bit of a reading with you. This is from Yoga International. So this is an article about the way of non-attachment. And I'll read a little bit at the beginning of practice and at the end of practice as well. So many of our attachments are material. Most of us have accumulated things that tie us down in one way or another, often because we think they will add to our status or our prestige. Other attachments might be activities we enjoy that benefit no one, including ourselves. Whatever it is, we can't imagine doing without it, and that is the hallmark of attachment. These ties might seem gossamer, meaning very light and subtle, but they add up. They can bind us so tightly that we can scarcely move beyond the limited circle of our personal likes and dislikes. Imagine if your favorite possessions were actually attached to you. How difficult it would be to drag them around for even a day. And yet the mental load we carry is no less burdensome. Shedding even a little of that load leaves us feeling light and free as if we really did have wings. So, you know, we get attached to our way of living, we get attached to certain activities in our lives, we can get attached to people, we can get attached to different activities. And a lot of these things that we are, attached to are ways that we disconnect from ourselves. They kind of can be numbing activities, right? If we're participating in them on a regular basis, that's taking us away from ourselves or what's really important to us or the loved ones in our lives, right? So we might be really attached right now to checking the news. We might be really attached to our Netflix shows because it's a way that we can tune out of our present experience. So as we practice today, I encourage you to think about what are some of the ways that you are attached to various things in your lives and how has it affected you being kind of cut off from some of those things, or what are some of the things that we're still engaging in that we could consider attachment style behaviors. So that's my little bit of yoga philosophy for today. Physically, we're going to focus on our hamstrings, and they are attaching here at our sit bone in the back of the leg. So we're going to focus a little bit there, strengthening this area. So a lot of us in our regular yoga practice, we're always thinking about stretching our hamstrings, and nothing wrong with that. But we want to make sure that we're doing an equal amount of strengthening as well. So we're going to do some what I call active stretching today rather than passive stretching, although we'll have some of that as well. But active stretching is when we have a little bit of engagement in the muscle while we're stretching it. And this has been shown to be a really effective way of creating change in our bodies where we might be feeling weak or tight. Particularly because we're all stuck at home, we might be sitting on them a lot, right? So when we sit on those hamstrings, there's a pressure that goes down into the backs of the legs. And when that pressure goes down, the fluid is pressed out. So it creates a dryness in the tissue, and that can create a whole host of issues as well. So we want to like rehydrate this tissue, bring in some circulation, bring in some strength, and then we can also have our dessert in our yoga practice, which is the passive stretching, when we can really just let go at the end. We'll have some of that later. But it'll be an active practice today. So those of you who are more of a gentle yoga student, you're going to definitely want to modify some things, maybe not do the vinyasa part. I'll try to give some modifications, but generally this is going to be an active practice, level 1, 2, and up. So enjoy. We're going to have a few props necessary, definitely a strap for some hamstring work, and you might want to have a set of blocks to modify some things. I have a blanket that I'm sitting on. I'm also going to put a blanket under my head when I do some recline stretches, so a pillow would work as well. A belt or scarf that you have at home could also be appropriate for this practice today. So I'm going to give you a moment to get set up on your back. I'm going to put a blanket down where your head will be, and then have your strap within reach. And then just go ahead and get settled for a moment. I'm going to get some music started, and I will join you in just a few. 1 second. So go ahead and relax down on your back, and just take a few moments to find your breath and settle in. I'm having a little trouble connecting to my speaker, so give me 1 second. All right, so go ahead and take a full body stretch while you're there, reaching out through your arms and your legs. And then go ahead and hug your right knee into your chest. And just keep it squeezing in for a moment. Circle your right foot around and just give it a little stretch to the ankle area. All right, now your left leg can be bent, or we can take it out straight, completely optional. Depends on what it's feeling like here in your lower back and in your hip flexor. So make that choice. And then we're going to take the strap around the ball of the right foot. We're going to spread out through the toes, reach up through the right leg. I'm going to go ahead and straighten my left leg. I'm going to try and make sure we're trying to draw toward the midline a little bit here with the inner thighs. And then we're going to gently rub the strap up and down our foot. Almost like you're giving yourself a nice little exfoliation here. So the reason behind this is we're waking up the tissue on the bottom of the foot. There's a connection between this fascia, it goes all the way up the back of my leg and all the way up my back body. So by working a little bit with our feet, we can start to loosen up that whole back chain of connective tissue. Okay, now go ahead and just come into a still position. The arms are straight with the shoulders relaxed. So I don't want the shoulders hunched up. Keep them down. And then going for this active stretching, right? So we're going to take a little bend in the right knee. And when I have a little bend in that knee, I've got just a slight engagement here of the hamstring. So I'm not locking the joint, I'm not pressing my kneecap forward. And we're going to take a few rounds of bending and straightening the leg a little more deeply. So from here, start to bend the right knee. Bring the heel down towards your glute. And then very slowly, with resistance, as if you're trying to press something really heavy up toward the ceiling, slow motion, you might feel a little quivering or shaking. The hamstrings aren't always used to having to work that hard. Now go ahead and do that a few more times. Keeping in mind that you might get a cramp in the hamstring during this work we're doing today, particularly if you're not used to engaging your hamstrings. Let's try one more round. Slowly push. You're resisting by pulling on the strap, and you're trying not to go all the way straight. So keep that little contraction. And now hold it there in the almost straight position. So we're like 90% straight. I'm engaging my leg by firming up into my quad, reaching up through my heel, and just having that slight resistance behind the knee so I'm not totally straightening. I'd like you to concentrate on feeling the sensation in the belly of your muscle. So the attachment is in the hamstring area, and then also the back of the knee are two areas where the hamstring is connecting to our bodies. So let's see if we can keep the sensation more in the belly rather than the pulling sensation right at the attachments. Let's hold it here one more breath. And then we're going to release. And just simply hug that knee back into your chest. And then let's take another full body stretch. Reach out arms, reach out legs, and then bring your left knee in. Just give it a squeeze. Circle your foot around a few times. Both directions, 3 or 4 rounds. Again, decide straight leg or bent leg for the right side, and let's bring the strap around the foot. Remember, shoulders are relaxed. Have a nice neutral spine here. And then go ahead and draw that strap, nice friction going up and down the sole of your foot. I like to really getting going here. I get a nice warmth through the tissue. Just waking that area up. All right, and then let's come into stillness. That straps toward the ball of the foot. The leg is almost straight. And then we'll bend and slowly push up. Like there's a really heavy weight. And you're pushing through your heel without locking the knee. We're going to do a couple more rounds. Bend and push up. And one more time, bend and push up. Now this time we're going to hold it here almost straight. 90% straight. Reaching through the heel, engaging the legs. Holding another breath. And then we'll slowly release and bring that knee into your chest again. One more full body stretch. And then let's bring both of our knees in and rock a little bit side to side. So our hamstrings can also affect our lower back. Particularly if they're on the weaker, tighter side, they can tend to flatten our lower back, so we lose our lumbar curve. Makes it harder to do those sitting postures, harder to bend over. All right, let's go ahead and roll to the side, and we're going to come on up into a seated posture. So got a blanket there to sit on. If you happen to have a second blanket, I'm going to ask you to grab that. So I'm going to grab one. If you don't have one, that is okay. You can use a pillow or a cushion as an option. but this is going to prevent me from locking out my knees. I'm going to put that blanket right under the backs of the knees, widen out my sit bones, and then press down into my heels. When I press down into my heels, it automatically kind of just lifts my knees off the blanket just a little bit. I'm still trying to keep my thighs down. And then I'm going to pull isometrically. So that means I'm not actually moving my heels. I'm pressing them down and pulling them toward me to help activate the legs. Now, hands to the floor, holding it here, pulling the heels towards you. And now think about your sit bones and see if you can isometrically pull them towards your heels. So the heels and the sit bones are pulling towards each other, firing up the backs of our legs. It should be some hard work. One more breath. Good, and then relax your legs for a moment. Maybe give them a little shake. Okay, let's lose that. Coming off of the blanket and bring the feet out in front. Hands are beside you, however they're comfortable. Depending on your wrists, you could turn your hands back if that feels okay. That'll open the chest more. But if it bothers your wrists, you could keep your hands at your side. Now, just like with our knees, we don't want to lock the elbows here, so a little micro bend in the elbows, but firming the triceps, pressing the hands into the floor, and even kind of pulling your collarbones apart. Press down into your feet strongly, and you're already going to maybe notice some muscles engaging in the backs of your legs. And then relax. Now we're going to add on to that. Press down, hands and feet. Pull the feet towards you, and now lift up into a reverse tabletop pose. So tabletop pose, I'm pressing down into my heels, down into my arms, firming the triceps, lifting my hips, and now pull the heels towards you to activate those hamstrings. Tailbone reaches towards your knees, and then lower back down. Good, pause for a moment. We're going to do that one more time. Take a breath. All right, push down, activate the arm muscles, pull your heels towards you, lift your hips up. Keep dragging your heels. Now really root into your left heel, bring your right knee up and extend. And then release, and let's try the other side. Push down into that heel on the floor, lift and reach. Good, now lift up a little higher, pull the heels, and then come all the way back down. Good, release. And let's just roll those shoulders out, maybe shake the arms out a little bit. All right, I'm gonna go into tabletop pose next. So grabbing a blanket if you know that your knees are sensitive. Sorry, my mat's always moving around on this carpet. Okay, so setting up knees on top of the blanket, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Let's just do a few cat-cows before we continue with some hamstring work. So inhale here. As you exhale, pressing down into the tops of the feet, the shins and the hands around your spine. Lift your navel and then reverse. Sit bones are lifting, head is lifting. You might even tuck your toes. And then exhale, feet flat, round. On your own, a few more cycles. And while we're doing this, be aware that the pelvis is moving. So we're tipping the sit bones up and then dropping the tailbone down. One more time. Extension and flexion. All right, let's bring it back to tabletop pose. If you need a break at any time, feel free to take a brief child's pose, throughout the practice. Really honor and respect your body. But if you're okay, we'll continue right on. So anytime you need to take care of yourself, right leg back, toes on the ground. And we're going to push back into the heel. So now, we did our foot flossing. Now we're kind of waking up into the back of the Achilles, the back of our calf. So this is all part of that same chain of connective tissue. So we're pushing back and coming forward. Now, lift that leg off the ground. And we're going to try, if we can, to stay neutral in our hips. So try not to do this, opening the hip up. Keep the hips squarely facing the floor. And then we're going to bend the right knee. From here, keep the foot flexed, lift it a little higher, and then point it and lift it a little higher, and then flex it. And then from here, tap down, lift up, and then we're going to extend. Slowly, like you're moving through resistance, rebend, lift higher, and tap down. Let's do that again. Lift, extend, bend, and tap down. All right, go ahead and rest for a moment. Maybe coming off of those hands in a child's pose, or maybe sit back on your heels or reach up. Interlace your hands, stretch up if you like. So child's pose or a more active stretch here if you like. And then release. Let's try that on the other leg. Take your left leg back, and then you're going to push back. And do that a few times. Push back, stretching out the back of the Achilles and your calf. Notice what sensations you're feeling. And then coming back to neutral, lift that leg up, bend the knee. We're going to flex the foot, lift it a little higher. Point the foot, lift it a little higher. Flex the foot, lift it a little higher. Good. Now tap down, lift up, extend, bend, release. And again, lift, extend, bend, and release. One more. Good. All right, let's all come into a child's pose now, resting those hands, and take 3 cycles of breath. All right, after your 3rd breath, do take your time. Go ahead and come back up. So we're going to add on a little bit here. So I'm going to swing, well, let me see, I'm going to face you. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to swing my right shin out to the side and take my left leg back behind me. So I'm in kind of this side plank variation. My hand is relatively under my shoulder, stacking the shoulders up, turning my rib cage up. And then from here, draw the tailbone into the body a little bit, toning the abdomen, and we're going to lift the leg up, flexing the foot. Now here, not so much hamstring, we're working outer hip, but we're going to make it a hamstring exercise by bending the knee. Squeeze the leg in, so it's actively working that. So if I grab my foot, it's going to become passive. So let's stay active and then extend. Do that again. Squeeze it in and extend. One more time, squeeze it in. Now this time, reach back, catch your foot. Now if you can, you're going to grab the big toe side of your foot and keep actively squeezing that back of the leg. One more breath here. And then release. And we'll come back down through our tabletop pose. All right, inhale, reach up, interlace your hands, stretch through the arms. And then we'll come back down for side two. I'm going to flip around. You do not have to. I just don't want to have my back side toward you. Okay, so now we're going to swing that left shin out to the side. Take the right leg behind you, coming into your side plank. Stacking up your shoulders, toning the abdomen, pulling the tailbone in, and then we'll lift that top leg up. Now just hold it there for a moment, activating those outer hip muscles to help you lift, and then we'll do the active. Squeeze it in, contract the hamstring, and extend. And again, squeeze it in and extend. One more time, squeeze it, hold it, and now catch it with the foot, the hand. So hand catching the foot, but we're going to still try and squeeze the back of the leg, which also opens the front of the hip and our quad up a bit. So double bonus. All right, release slowly with control, hold it, and release down. All right, from here, just circle your hips around a little bit, release that work that you just did, and go the other direction. So there's going to be a lot of bending and straightening the legs today. That's one of the jobs of our hamstring. So when we bend and straighten our leg, we're going to be strengthening the hamstring. So we're going to start to flow a little bit more, get a little bit more active. Let's take the blanket out of the way. Fixing this mat again, and we're going to come into our first downward facing dog. So from table, take your hands forward of your shoulders just a little bit, a couple inches, and turn your hands out just a hair. Tuck your toes, hips toward your heels, lengthening. Push forward into your hands and then lift up into your down dog. First down dog, pedal it out. Bend one knee and the other, so we're still waking up the backs of the legs. Getting into the heels, the calves. Now just to make sure we have a good measurement, let's come into a plank pose and adjust. So I'm going to move my feet back just a little bit so I can be in a nice plank. And come back to my dog. Bring my feet together, big toes are touching. Press into the hands, pushing forward. Squeeze your arm muscles, and then we're going to bend the right knee. Hug in toward the midline, and then we're going to try and lift that leg up. We're still using the back of the leg. Now, straighten. Extend through the heel, and then bend, squeeze it in. Knee to nose, keep it squeezing up the whole time around your spine. And then take it back. Slowly straighten the leg and step through to a lunge. Grabbing blocks if you need them here. I'm going to show modifications. Shoulders over the wrists, and we're going to press into the front heel, straight down. When I press into that heel, I start to feel the back of the leg wake up. As I press into that heel, I'm going to think about moving my sit bone toward my heel a little bit to activate that leg. I'm not like rounding, I'm not moving anything. It's just like an energetic moving of the sit bone toward the heel. One more breath. All right, let's step it back, downward facing dog. Inhale, plank pose, readjust. Take it back to your dog. Big toes touch. Inhale the left leg up. Stay strong in the arms. Push forward, firm those triceps. And then we're going to slowly bend. Squeeze the leg in and extend. And then squeeze the leg in, curl into a rounded spine. Inhale, take it straight back up. And then step through to your lunge. Coming up on the blocks if you wish to use them. They're basically arm extenders so that we're not rounding to get into position. Now press into that heel, straight down. And notice if you can get the muscle fired up in the belly of the muscle. Pull your sit bone towards your heel. For me, that just activates it, fires it up a bit more. One more breath. And then release. Step it back, downward facing dog. Inhale, plank pose. Option to drop your knees. Keep your chest forward, lower all the way down. Tops of the feet press down, shoulders back. Inhale, cobra. And exhale, down dog. You can press to plank, table, or right to your dog. All right, take an inhale, exhale, walk your feet forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold with a little bend in those knees. And then inhale, reach your arms all the way out and up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Pausing for a breath. I'm going to change my orientation so I can face you. You can stay on your mat. You might want to have blocks. All right, coming into mountain pose. Standing nice and tall, energetically reach your fingers toward the floor, lengthen the back of your neck. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, hands to your heart, bend your knees, coming into a chair pose. And then really push down into your heels, make sure you have some weight in your heels. You want to be able to see your toes. Hold it here, another breath. And then hands to your hips. We're going to start to hinge forward, straightening the legs. Some of you might want to use the blocks. Otherwise, more challenging is going to have your hands on your hips. And we're lengthening the spine, slight bend in the knees. If you don't feel stable, widen your feet a little bit. So hands can stay here, or even more challenging are going to be out to the sides. And we're pressing down through the heels. Sit bones are moving back this time. So it's more of a lengthening, but press those heels down. One more breath. And then release. Hands to blocks or floor. We're going to fold forward. So I'm going to lose the blocks and I'm going to widen the feet a little bit and grab opposite elbows. Now this is often a passive stretch. We're going to make it more active. Keeping that slight bend in your knees. Push down into your feet. Gently drag your feet apart and keep pressing downward. Now, as you reach your heels down, lift your sit bones up to lengthen the hamstrings. And breathe. Now, if I energetically draw my sit bones down, it's going to fire those hamstrings more. But for this one, I want them to tip up. I want to feel like my low back moves into my body rather than rounding out. Switch the crossing of your arms. Holding here another breath or two. Push down, pull apart, tip your sit bones up, and reach your chest toward the floor. Now to come up safely, hands to hips, bend your knees deeply, extend through your spine, push into your heels, and slowly come up. All right, that was some hard work. Take a breath here, readjust. One more. All right. If you're not at the top of your mat, find your way there. I'm going to do a couple of Surya Namaskars. We'll do Surya Namaskar A. We're going to do Surya Namaskar B. Sun salutations. Inhale, reach your arms out and up. Exhale, fold. Long spine, slight bend in the knees. Inhale, halfway lift. I'd like you to bring your hands up to your shins or thighs, even if you don't need to. This is to really lengthen your spine. And then plant your hands, step back, plank pose, top of a push-up. Keep the thighs lifting, chest forward, tailbone towards your heels. Option to drop those knees, chest forward, lower down. Tops of the feet flat, shoulders back. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, plank or dog. Everyone meeting in dog. Big inhale here. As you exhale, step or lightly jump top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Let's go again. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. Plant your hands, step back, plank pose. Cobra or up dog this time, halfway down chaturanga if you like. Roll over the toes, lift your chest, keep your thighs lifting. Down dog. Take a breath here. Lifting the sit bones up, firming the arms, and then on your next exhale, step or lightly jump, top of the mat. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up. And hands to your heart. And take a breath here. We move on to Surya Namaskar B. So we're going to add in a chair pose and a warrior one. Focusing on rooting the heels down to keep those legs active. So bend your knees. Inhale, Utkatasana, chair pose. Heels press down. Fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway. Plant your hands, step back, plank pose. Cobra or your up dog, your choice. Downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg straight up. Step through, spin your back heel down, and reach your arms up for warrior one. Now we're going to hold our warrior one first round. Second round, we're going to go straight through. Deep bend in your knee. Press into your heel. Lift the frontal hip points, shoulders square forward, arms up. See if you can root into both heels. Front sit bone more toward the heel. Reach the arms up. One more breath. And then release, hands down, step it back for the vinyasa. Going through, lowering down, cobra or up dog. Meeting in downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg up, step through, warrior one, side two. Deep bend in your knee, back thigh roots back. Find your heels, root them down, square forward with your chest only, and then reach the arms up. Be pressing into your heels, spreading your toes. Maybe a little deeper into that front knee. One more breath. Good, hands down. Step back for the vinyasa. Inhale, and as you exhale, step or lightly jump. Top of the mat. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to your heart. And take a pause. We're going to do one more round of Surya Namaskar B. Next inhale, chair pose, Utkatasana. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. Plant your hands, step back, plank pose. Cobra or up dog. Down dog, right into it. Inhale, right leg up. Step through, warrior one, back heel down, arms reach. Hands down, take the vinyasa. If you want to skip, you can always go right to your dog. Inhale, left leg up, step into warrior two, or warrior one, sorry. Arms reach. Hands down, take the vinyasa. One more breath in your dog. On your next exhale, step or lightly jump, top of the mat. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Little bend in those knees. Inhale, Utkatasana, bend your knees. And rise to stand. Good. Take a moment in your mountain pose. Another breath cycle. We're going to add on to this work. All right, inhale, arms reach. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lengthen. Your vinyasa or go right to your dog. I'm going to show going right to your dog. Everyone, if you're taking that vinyasa, will meet in down dog. And on your next inhale, right leg straight up. Bend the knee. Lift your thigh a little higher. And then knee to nose, squeezing that heel up. Inhale, take it up. Exhale, step through, warrior one. Arms reach. Bring your hands to your hips. Step your back foot in a little bit. Spin onto the ball of that back foot. All right, squaring your hips forward now. So we're in a lunge. Warrior one, we're not quite square, but here we can be square. And I want to really root down into that front heel. Now to make this a little more exciting, we're going to start to hinge forward. As you hinge forward, keep pressing into that heel. Keep your back thigh lifting, hips compacting in, and then option to fly the arms. You can also keep hands on the thighs or reach the arms forward. One more breath. And then hands come down to the floor. Step that back foot in a little bit, and we're going to lift it up, coming into a modified warrior three. So you might want to have your blocks here. Lost my other block. There we go. All right. Now you can stay here, hugging your inner thighs in, or bow over your front leg, coming into a standing split. Hug toward the midline. We're going to bend both knees, tap down, and then push into your heel. We're going to keep this left leg bent and squeeze it in. Now maybe straighten it, maybe fold over that leg. And then we're going to land in chair pose. Bend your knees, reach your arms, coming up to stand. Good, take a breath there. Switching out these blocks. Okay, let's try that on side two. Take an inhale and an exhale. Next inhale, arms reach. Exhale, fold with a little bend in your knees. Inhale, halfway lift. Vinyasa if you wish. I'm going to step to my dog. Hold your dog. Those of you taking the vinyasa will meet you there. Firm up the arms. Squeeze the triceps and push with your hands. Inhale, left leg up. Bend that knee, squeeze it in, round, knee to nose. Inhale, take it back up, and step through warrior one. Back heel spins down, arms reach. Good, hands to your hips, spin onto the ball of that back foot. Hug in toward the midline. And then again, to make it more interesting, we're going to lean forward and press into the heel. Think about your sit bone drawing toward your heel. Arms can be out to the side on your leg or reach it forward, more challenging. Good. From here, release your hands to the blocks or the floor. We're going to step that back foot in, lift the back leg, move back to make sure I stay in the camera. Lift the back leg. You can stay here in a warrior three. Or we're going to start to lower toward a standing split. So that's stretching the hamstring on the straight leg, but I'm keeping that little bend, reaching through my heel. And then I'm going to bend this other knee and squeeze it in and lift it up. Maybe I'll straighten that leg. You might even try to find some balance, holding onto your ankle with one hand or both hands. And then we'll land, chair pose. Rooting into the heels, rising up. Finding your way to mountain pose. Take a breath here. One more. All right, inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold forward, little bend. Inhale, lengthen. We're going to step back, plank pose. And we're all going to lower to our abdomen. So drop the knees if you wish, lower down. Okay. So a little bit of work for the backs of the legs here on the floor. We're going to just stack up the hands for a moment. Rest your forehead. Reach back through your right leg. So really take your foot and move it back. I want there to be length in my low back. And now I'm going to lift that leg up off the floor. I'm going to bend the knee, flex the foot, and try to lift that leg a little higher. Hold it. Extend. And release. Let's try the other leg. Reach the left leg back. So your toenails reach back as far as you can. And then lift the leg. Bend the knee, flex the foot. Lift a little higher. So my right leg's heavy as my left leg lifts up. Holding it, trying to engage the back of the leg. Then I'm going to straighten it and release. Wiggle the hips a little bit. Both knees bend, both feet flexed. I'm going to pull my heels in and squeeze the backs of the legs. Now I'm going to push down into my arms, pull my arms toward me to stretch my chest forward. Contract the backs of the legs. Try to get lighter in my knees. And then release. Have a breath here. All right, and again, bend the knees, flex the feet, lift the chest, pull back with your arms. Try to get lighter on your knees. Engage the backs of your legs. Squeeze. And release. Legs all the way together like a zipper. Arms can be out to the side, behind you, or forward. Shalabhasana. Squeeze the legs together, lift them up, lift your arms. Keep squeezing the legs together as you reach them back. One more breath. Maybe you can try reaching those arms forward. And release. Breathe here. All right, we're going to slide the hands under the shoulders, coming into tabletop pose. Let's take a brief child's pose, knees wide, reach your arms forward. I'm going to have you take a few cycles of breath here. Let's do 2 more breath cycles. And then after that second breath cycle, go ahead and return into tabletop pose and back to downward facing dog. All right, on your next inhale, you're going to take your right leg straight up behind you. We're going to step forward. So I'm going to turn around so I'm facing you. Step that foot forward. We're coming into warrior 2 this time. Front knee over the ankle, back thigh roots back, and we're rooting down into both heels, squaring the chest forward toward me, well, depending which way you're facing rather, and arms out to a T. Reach out wide through the arms and look over your right fingertips. Now, rooting down into that front heel, sit bone draws toward the heel, firing up the hamstring. Keep that rooting down, reverse warrior, back hand to back thigh. Wrap the arm if you wish, and then side angle. Reach forward, forearms to thigh, shoulder back, or lower that hand down, but turn your top ribs open. Tailbone draws in, low belly lifts, and then press into your heels. Top arm can stay there or reach over your ear. Keep pressing into that back heel. Press the front of your thigh toward the back of your thigh. And then rise back up, warrior 2. Cartwheel your hands down, step back, downward facing dog. We're going to make our way to side 2. Just for the sake of staying facing you, I am not going to take the vinyasa, so I can stay facing forward. Okay. So warrior 2, other side. I'm having a little trouble with my phone there. Sorry about that, guys. All right, let's see how long this will go. I might run out of space. Arms out wide. Root down into your heels, particularly drawing that back thigh back, that front of the thigh toward the back of the thigh. Chest squaring forward. Heels press down. Reverse warrior. Good side angle from here. Maybe deepening if you like. All right, we're going to repeat that sequence, making sure we have a block on either side. We're going to do this right from the center of the mat this time. So we're going to step the feet apart wide. So about 3 to 4 feet. For some of us, it works to do wrists and ankle alignment, depending on if your arms are really long, your legs are really short. That might not work so well. So gauge for you so that you feel stable. And then we're going to come onto the right side. So turning your whole right leg out from the top of your thigh. Kneecap and your toes are aligned. Back foot is going to also turn slightly. This just gives me a little bit of ability to keep this hip forward. And then I'm going to drop into warrior 2. Finding that rooting down into the heels, reaching out through the arms, we'll repeat our reverse warrior. And then into our side angle, forearms to thigh, and reach. Roll the shoulder open. You can take that arm over the ear if you like. And then from here, we'll come into half moon. So we're going to come with hand on a block. I'm just going to back up a little bit so I can make sure I stay in the frame here. Okay, so rooting down into your heel, walk the block slightly forward and a few inches off to the right. And you're going to step that back foot in. It looks like I need to move back just a little bit more. Okay, so I might come out of the frame. That's okay. I'm going to press down into the block with that bottom hand, lift that top leg higher. I'm going to flex that foot. And then if I feel steady, I can take the top arm and reach it up. So from here, I'm going to bring hand back to the hip for a moment for stability. I'm going to bend, squeeze that leg in, and then extend, moving with control. Bend and extend. And then one more time, bend, and I'm going to squeeze it in, and if I can, I'm going to reach back, grab the big toe side of the foot, coming into Ardha Chandra Chapasana. And then to keep this nice and active, I'm going to squeeze the hips in, keep engaging the hamstring, roll the chest open. One more breath. I'm going to very slowly release and step back through my warrior two. And then we'll straighten the legs, step into the middle, shake it out, and we'll do the other side. So as you're ready, making sure you have a block on the other side, step your feet apart wide. Rooting down into your heels, engage your legs, hands to your hips, and then turning that whole left leg out to the other side, right toes in, heel wide, and then bend your knee, coming into your warrior two. Reach out nice and wide through the arms, reverse warrior. Side angle, your variation. Forearm to thigh or coming deeper. And then hand to hip, find your block. Starting to shift that block forward. Step in with that back leg and then lift up. I'm going to back up a little bit here. Oh, these filming challenges. All right. Rib cages rolling open. We're going to reach through this back heel. Firm up both hips. Tone the belly. And then maybe reach up for balancing for a moment. Oops. And make sure that that block is under my shoulder. Okay, hand to the hip. Bend that knee. Squeeze it. Extend. Bend it in. Squeeze it. And extend. And one more time, bend it in. Now we're going to see if we can catch the big toe side of the foot for our Chapasana. But I want to stay active by trying to engage the back of the leg, which also opens the front of my hip. Roll the chest open. Keep both hips nice and toned. And then release. Step back through your warrior two. I'm just adjusting a little bit so I can stay in the frame. Good. And then we'll straighten the legs. Bring the feet parallel to each other. Turn your toes in, heels out just a hair. So not the toe pigeon-toed, but just slightly to give us stability. And I'm going to root into my outer heels. Engage my legs. Lift my chest. Now I'm really rooting down into the legs, but I'm going to bend the knees here for a moment. So I get a true hinge at my hip crease, folding forward. And then bring hands onto the floor in front of you. We're going to stay up on our finger tops. Try not to be way back in your heels here. I want you to have your hips in line with your ankles. And then we're going to bend the knees deeply like a squat. Now thinking about lifting from your sit bones, so start to push in your heels, start to lift the sit bones up, keep the low back drawing in, and then we'll fold forward. Walking your hands in any amount. You can stay up here if you wish, or go deeper by walking your hands towards your feet. And then again, we're going to bend. Push into the heels. Strongly use your legs. Lift your sit bones up as the chest descends, the crown of the head descends. Elbows hug towards each other like chaturanga. And one more time, bend. So this is that active range of motion. I'm keeping a slight bend in the knees, so I'm stretching and strengthening at the same time. Now I might reach out, hold my big toes. I'm going to go a little deeper. Elbows bend toward the sides. And then we're going to release. Bring the hands back in under the shoulders. Heel toe the feet in until you feel stable. Bending those knees, push into the feet, and we'll rise all the way back up. Step it back in and shake it out a little bit. Okay, so we finished that standing work. We're going to do a little bit of work with bridge pose. Another great way to work with the hamstrings. So we're going to come onto our backs. And then we're going to start in supported bridge. So we're going to grab that one block, and we're going to come onto our backs first, and then slide the block in under the back of the pelvis. So here we could be on setting 1, which is flat, or setting 2, which is turned up 1. So I'm going to go for setting 2, be wherever it feels good for you. I'm not going to go for 3 for this because I really want to focus on some actions in the legs and feet. So feet are about hips distance apart. I'm going to press down into my feet. And I'll notice here as I press into my feet, I get a little action in my legs. But now to take it more into my hamstrings, I'm going to do that isometric pull. So press down into my feet, and then isometrically pull my feet toward my hips. At the same time, keep the tailbone going toward my knees, and then we'll really fire up the backs of the legs. Press down and pull towards you. And then relax and breathe. And now from here, keeping my left foot down, bring my right knee up and into my chest. I'm going to really press into that left foot, left heel, pull the heel toward me, and then extend this leg up. Drawing toward midline, reaching through the heels. Maybe I'm going to tuck my shoulders, get my chest open a little bit here, and then rebend, squeeze it, and place it down. Let's try that other side. Press in your right heel and drag the heel towards you as you lift, hug to the midline, and extend. Keep the chest actively lifting, and then rebend, squeeze, and release. Pausing here. Right. Now you could repeat this if you wish, or we can make it into an active bridge. So stick with the block if that was already challenging enough. Otherwise, lower your block if it was on setting 2, and remove it, coming down slowly. Setting up in like a robot arm here, so elbows are down close to my body. I'm tucking the shoulders. I'm going to lift my hips just 1 inch. Try to get those shoulders under a little bit. Push into the feet, pull the feet toward me, reach the tailbone toward my heels or backs of my knees, and then I'm going to lift up into a fuller expression of bridge. Press down, pull the heels toward me. Now I might try that lifting of one leg. So I'm going to really get drawing in with those shoulders. Knee in, lift up. Squeeze and release. Knee in, the other heel's rooting. Lift up, reach, squeeze, and release. And then one more time, lift up as high as you can. Walk the shoulders under any amount more. Maybe hold the edges of your mat. And then we're going to undo the shoulders. Come down slowly, 1 vertebra at a time. Pausing here. Have a breath, and then maybe some windshield wipers side to side. Okay, so now going for a little bit more stretching of hamstrings. I'm going to roll to my side. Come on up and grab a blanket or 2. We're going to sit on one of those blankets. And just like we did before, we're going to have the legs out with a little bend. Okay, so my kneecaps are lifting off the floor, my heels are pressing down, and I'm pulling my heels toward me, so I have an active stretch in the backs of the legs when I come into my Paschimottanasana. Okay, so keeping those legs actively rooting down with the heels, pulling, and now inhale, reach your arms up. And as I exhale, I'm going to hinge forward from the hip creases. Nothing's changing in my spine. And then I'm going to hold wherever I can, ankles, shins, or toes. Inhale, lift up into a little back bend. So I'm curling up. Let me go sideways so you can get a visual of that. Okay? So a little bend in the knees. I'm going to inhale, kind of curl into my spine like a cobra, pull back into the heels, activate my whole back chain, and then I'm going to fold. Maybe the heels will slide out a little bit. I'm going to repeat. Inhale, lift up, pull back on the heels, arch your back, contract the legs and the back, and then exhale. That softening will be even sweeter. One more time. Inhale, lift up, pull back, arch. And exhale, fold. This time we're going to stay here. You can keep those knees a little bent. Some of you might be able to stick your hands under the backs of the knees if they're almost straight. You could also grab that blanket as an option. If this is a strain for you, that can help keep those legs from locking out. So I'll show that. Now, as we come into this fold, I want to think about my sit bones moving back. So I'm going to tip into my pelvis, keep this low back area kind of drawing in, and the chest is reaching forward. I've got as much length as I can. Now I can let my spine round to calm my nervous system. Let my head go, and let my shoulders soften. Let's take 3 more breaths. Now, after your third breath, to come out, first tone your belly. Reach your chest forward, root into your legs, and then slowly come up with a long spine. Pause when you come to vertical. All right. So we'll make our way back onto our backs now. You bring your knees into your chest. If you want, you can have that blanket under your head. We can take one more hamstring stretch here. Reach the legs up. That might be your pose. You could hold on to your ankles or your big toes. Now, this is not plow pose, so I'm not lifting my hips. My hips are going to stay mostly down. They might lift up for a little bit, but I'm going to work them down. I'm going to take an inhale, move my thighs away without locking the knees, and then lift up into my head, chest, and shoulders, drawing my legs toward my chest, elbows toward the side. Now my hips are lifting a little bit, but as I let my chest come down, I'm going to let my hips come back down a little bit toward the floor, like a reclined Paschimottanasana. Hold here another breath. As you exhale, draw the low belly in and firm your legs. And then all the way back down. Hug in one more time and rock a little bit side to side. Let your feet come down flat. Bring your legs together, offset your hips to the left and bring your knees over to the right. Coming into a twist to help release our low back. You might help hold those legs down. Turn your rib cage toward the left. Maybe your gaze is toward the left. One more breath here. And then we're going to inhale, exhale, back to center. Offset your hips to the right, knees in and over to the left. And then here we'll take that twist. Maybe holding the legs down. Your gaze might go away from the knees. Breathing here. Last breath. And then take an inhale. Exhale yourself back to the center. Even out. Maybe one more hug of the knees, or if you wish for a happy baby, that's available as well. You can stay still or a little gentle rock across your lower back. And then knees hug in. We're going to find our way to Shavasana. So I would recommend, if you still have some props available, put that blanket under your knees so that you have a release for your lower back. Now, even nicer is if you have your two blocks. You can have those and put the rolled blanket on top to give even more of a bend in our knees. This is to help relax our back after that hamstring work. Scoot the tailbone a little forward, and then we'll come down. Maybe tucking the shoulders a bit so the chest is open. And as you breathe here, really relax into your lower back. Relax into the whole back chain of your legs, particularly the hamstring muscles, but also down into your Achilles, your calves, your feet even. Now, as you breathe, imagine you could breathe in through the soles of your feet. Sweep that breath through the whole back chain of your body, up the back of the neck to the crown of the head. And then as you exhale down the back of the body, sweep your awareness out through your feet. Let's do that a few more times. Inhale up the back body, exhale down the back body. Just clearing out this energy channel that travels through our back. One more time, inhale through the feet, back of the body, up to the head. And from the head, back down and out the feet. Now I'm going to let you stay where you are. I'm going to be coming out so I can come up and share a reading with you. Just stay where you are for a few more moments. All right, so back to this concept of attachment, continuing to rest and breathe. Attachment can slowly strangle even our enjoyment of the things to which we are attached. They tend to grow on us, consuming more and more of our time and attention. After a while, as Henry David Thoreau says, we become not their owners, but their servants. There is nothing wrong with possessions, even rather pointless ones. There's nothing wrong with hobbies and activities that are not at the expense of life. The problem is simply that when our time and attention get caught like this, that is the time and attention we cannot give to those around us. We bind up our own vitality, our capacity to live, to give, and to love. The Bhagavad Gita, which Gandhi called his spiritual reference book, throws light on what happens in such cases in the mind. When you keep thinking about something, a car, clothing, your computer, attachment comes. It is really that simple. To get attached to something, nothing more is required than thinking about it over and over until that thought becomes a habit. And then our thinking gets caught, and the more it is caught, the less awareness we have for anything else. Understanding brings motivation. Once you see that your mind is doing to you with these little habits, and decide that you prefer the freedom of making choices instead, you will discover 1,001 little ways to practice untying these knots every day. Whenever you find yourself spending time in a way that seems out of proportion, for example, indulging in some activity you secretly admit to be a waste of time, disengage yourself and put your time somewhere more constructive instead. Pay more attention to your family. Do something necessary that you've been putting off. And when you do this, you're withdrawing love from that thing or activity so you can direct it freely. So taking your time now to come back up, you're going to deepen your breath, wiggle fingers and toes. Roll to your right side when you're ready. Have a pause for a few breaths. When it feels right for you, go ahead and press into your arms. Lead with your back body, head coming up last, and we'll come into a comfortable seat. So perhaps sitting up on a folded blanket or a pillow, widening out the sit bones, getting settled. And then if it's comfortable for you, close your eyes or find a simple gazing point on the floor. And then bring to mind one or two of those attachments. Where has your energy been pulled away from that which matters most to you? Hold those things in your mind for a moment. And then if more things come to mind, more attachments, let them come into your awareness. Where has your energy and attention been going that perhaps is not beneficial for you or for others in your life? Where have you been kind of wasting away your time and energy? Now we're going to do a simple exercise to imagine releasing those attachments. So bring your fingers out to the sides of you. And with all of those things in your awareness, imagine a cord from yourself to those things that pull you away. And now as we inhale the arms up overhead, imagine we're cutting through all of those cords. And then back down. Clear the space around you from these distractions, these ways that we numb out, ways that we disconnect from ourselves into what is meaningful and purposeful for ourselves. Do that 2 more times. Just visualizing cutting those cords, cutting those attachments, so that we are free to redirect our energy in a way that matters. Next time your palms are up overhead, meet the palms together. And imagine all that wasted energy, scattered energy, drawing it back to yourself by pulling your hands to your heart. Take a deep breath in, and then bow your head to your heart, closing your practice. All right, thank you everyone for joining me. Namaste.